We got this from Deadline. Frankly, I never heard of you. A testy Donald Trump tussles with Terry Moran during contentious ABC News interview. That was great. But then we have this. Listen to this. This is gold.
Do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across a stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC.
No, wait. The best part. Listen to what Terry Moran says.
All right.
I knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC's one
He
of
thanked him.
Yeah.
He said thank
the
you.
worst, I have to be honest with you.
You know what? That's the only reason he gave this interview. Now that I think about it, he just want to tell them to their face, you guys are fake news and you guys suck. That's the only reason he did this interview.
Terry Moran said, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Jeez, bro.
He was like, I hate ABC. Let me get the guy that I'll have the least problems with just so I can say that you guys are fake news. You could tell. Anytime he gets a chance to make fun of Biden, which is hilarious, by the way, he takes it and then he wanted to tell ABC that they suck to their face.
Yeah, and he should.
That's the only reason he did it.
It was the right thing for Donald Trump to do. The media has been derelict in their duty they were derelict in their duty for 4 years. They covered for Joe Biden when he was incapable of doing his job. So
it's crazy because prior to Trump coming into office, like politics wasn't this interesting and fun and funny. Like I remember when before Trump came in, right? If you look at the Mitt Romney and Barack Obama debate, they were so posh, great decorum, so polite, really didn't insult each other, right? And then you go fast forward to like Trump versus Hillary and then Trump versus Biden, and he's like saying like, well, I don't know what he said, or he's saying like, I would lock her up, like. He completely, as much as people, you could hate or love Trump, which you can, you got to admit, though, is that he revolutionized politics and definitely made it more interesting and entertaining.
The biggest zing in the Obama and Romney debate was when Obama said the 1980s want their foreign policy back because Romney correctly said that Russia was a geopolitical rival. And then the biggest zinger in the Hillary Clinton Trump debate was definitely it's because you'd be in jail.
Yeah, you'd be in jail when you said about the tax breaks. Yeah.
I do want to interject a little bit. You said they were derelict in their duty. They were complicit.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Derelict is actually, I understand what you were trying to deride them, and I respect that. But derelict is a cover-up.
They were complicit, yeah.
They were complicit.
Totally true.
Joe Biden, there's this video. I got to pull it up again. It was, it's so good. It's so good. How do I find it? It's
just the way he always makes fun of him. What was that? Was that a CPAC you cooked him for like 30 minutes? Like made fun of Joe Biden for like, it's just funny. Cause like before Trump coming into politics, it was like completely a big no-no.
Yeah.
So personally insult your political rival, like it was frowned upon, right? Even if you hated each other, there was like a certain level of decorum. He completely got rid of that, and it's hilarious now.
Let me play. I'm going to play this clip for you guys. We're doing a best of. Here's a best of Joe Biden.
You got the vaccination?
Yeah.
Are you okay? I mean, you seem no, it works. Or or the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're. No, I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people. If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon or whatever, something, right. Or, whether those aliens are here or not, who are the people they talk to beyond the kids who love talking about it?
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy, dude? Like if you watch, speaking of going back in time, if you watch Biden, I think it was against Sarah Palin back in like 2008 or something like that. Completely different guy.
Yeah.
Completely, sound mind, very good, good speaker, sharp as hell. Like when you look at how he used to speak and how he used to be to now, it's like, is this even the same guy?
My theory is that Biden's planning on retiring to play poker. And so he's created this public persona of infirmity and ineptitude.
You're going to be pushing him all day.
He's at the table, and he's like, "Oh, what do you mean? Hey, sir, I king." And then they're like, "This guy's nothing."
I called. Too late, I guess.
I guess I'm calling, and they're like, "I got you. I got trips." And he goes, "Oh, I got a full house."
Yep. Like when,
wait a minute.
You ever see the episode of The Fresh Prince where his Uncle Phil like pretends he can't play pool? He's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I'm a pool shark. Now I'll say he made the bet. It was like, oh, and you started cooking him.
All these people in the media, they were like, look, behind closed door, Joe Biden's better than he's ever been.
Yeah.
Joe Scarborough said, this version of Joe Biden is the best version he's ever been. So when we played this video for you.
See, you could believe that had you not heard him speak before. Because I'm telling you, a lot of people forget. He was vice president under Obama. He was super sharp. Now you look at him, you're like, what the hell is this?
But this is the issue. Chuck Todd recently came out and said, the narrative that the media missed this story is a right-wing manufactured narrative. It didn't happen. Chuck Todd is developmentally disabled. Because if he watched this clip and concluded that Joe Biden is of sound mind, then he's developmentally.
You want to know when it was over? When Biden debated Trump and he went on this like random tangent, and then even Trump was like, I don't know what he said, but then he went on.
He said, I don't know what he said. And I don't think he did either.
Yeah, I don't think he did either, which was hilarious. And honestly, that debate like sealed the deal because you had both of them there. Remember, Biden went off for like 2 weeks. No one knew where he was prior to that debate. Oh, yeah. Like they were making jokes saying he's getting the shots in his butt and everything else like that to wake him up. And he still came into that debate super unprepared, didn't know what was going on. It was a big L. And that debate is actually what ended up making him drop out. Like I remember 2 weeks after that, he pretty much dropped out. Kamala took over. But yeah, dude, anyone that thinks it's crazy what the mainstream media, how they covered for him.
These journalists, like the Axios guy said, we missed this story and we've lost trust because of it. It's like, if you really expect me to believe that you missed this story when we were all watching those videos.
That's the thing. There's this experiment, I think the Milgram experiment, where they'll tell people like, okay, they'll show you a line and then they show you 3 other lines. Which one is the same length?
I don't think that's Milgram.
That's not Milgram. That's a different experiment.
Milgram was when they electrocuted people.
Yeah, and people would just do what the authority told them to do over and over until they thought they were killing the person.
They'd keep going. Yeah.
They would keep going. So there's a line that's 3 inches, and then you got these other lines, and people, you see obviously which line is the same, but the 10 people that go before you that are all in on it will all pick a different line that's the wrong length. And then by the time it gets to the person, over and over they would pick the wrong line because that's what the group said.
Better.
It's this phenomenon.
I disagree. I think they were in on the take. But that is an interesting phenomenon you bring up. There's another experiment they did, and you can watch the videos online. It's fascinating. It was like a reality TV show. They have a person goes into like a clinic, and there's a guy sitting in a chair, and there's a bunch of open chairs in the waiting room. The person goes in and sits down, and then something beeps. It goes beep, and the guy stands up and then sits down. And the person who comes in is sitting there like, whoa, what was that all about? Another person walks in and sits down. The beep goes off. They both stand up and sit down. Eventually, there's like 10 people that have come into the room, and the beep goes off. They all stand up. Then they all sit down. Eventually, the person who's being experimented on starts standing up and sitting down too, just not knowing why, because the beeps are going off.
These conformity experiments. The one I was talking about, the 3-line experiment, known as the Asch conformity experiment, ASCH, conducted by Solomon Asch in the 1950s to demonstrate the power of conformity in groups.
But these exist for a reason. You know why?
Social survival of the tribe.
Because if a fire broke out and was ripping through the trees, and then a group of like 3 people on one side of the village screamed and started running, the other people would get scared and then start running too.
And if you faked it, you would just end up dying off, and people would distrust you. You'd be ostracized.
No, if you ignored the threats.
But if the people were faking the threats, they would be ostracized from the tribe.
That's not the factor. The factor is the reason this exists, evolutionary psychology, would be that humans tended to heed social cues to avoid disaster. Because if they did not, they would die. But that is not what we're seeing here. What we're seeing here is journalists were basically saying, I know he's unwell, but I'm not going to be the one to say it because I don't want to lose my job.
Yep. Yeah. And Democratic Party is in shambles. What do you guys think about it looks like AOC is going to run. What do you guys think about that?
Well, it is.
So I put out an ad, didn't she?
She'll be president within the next 20 years, but probably not 2020.
I want to shout out the
you think she'll
Piers
win?
Morgan show.
Maybe eventually.
Today I went on Piers Morgan's show, and Sri Tenadar was on it. He's the guy who's impeaching Trump. And he starts ranting about Trump.
Is it that Indian guy?
Yeah. He's like, Donald Trump is deporting a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm just sitting here like, oh my God. And then so, Piers was like, Tim, and I
got an accent, you shouldn't be able to run for office.
Well, I don't care about that. My point was,
hey, I'll say it.
You can't impeach Donald Trump for doing things that are just unpopular or because his approval rating is down. And the only reason Sri Tenadar, I told this to his face over the camera, the only reason he's impeaching Trump is because the Democratic Party is in shambles. They have no front runner. It's a free-for-all.
Yep.
And there are a bunch of crabs clawing their way to the top of the bucket.
Yep.
And that's what he's doing. He's saying, pick me.
Yep, and that's 100% what's going on. They're absolutely in shambles. They don't know what's going on. I think their strongest, I think Bernie and AOC is probably their strongest card that they can play, and that's probably what they're going to run. Well, he's going to campaign alongside her.
Yeah, but
He's been
Bernie
endorsing her like crazy.
That's fine, but I think by 2028, I don't know how long. Look, with all due respect,
he's old as hell.
Right, he's past the average life expectancy, and we call this the mortality factor. Once a certain generation gets to a certain age, you can expect them to pass on.
I kind of see AOC.
I think he's endorsing her. I think like he's kind of galvanizing his audience, his people to basically get behind
but
her.
her support is 10%.
Yeah,
I could see
There's
her
no
being,
front runner for the
being
Democrats.
president like
There's
in
not
the
right now.
2030s.
But that's
like
why
in-
he's trying to make her it.
She's like not ready. Okay, we're all developing right now. We're all getting more information. We're becoming better people, ideally, so that we could probably all four of us at this table could be president at some day if we become better people and more equipped to understand what's going on. She's the same way. I don't think she's prepared for it yet.
I would never vote for Ian because he's the kind of guy that, like, you look at him and he tries to exude this, like, empathetic, bipartisan thing, but he's talked about wanting executions and military intervention and spreading of democracy.
The oppo on Ian would be beautiful.
He's a neocon on the inside and a neolib on the outside.
Yeah, well, I'm. It's my
he's
for me.
smirking.
We can't put a woman in office. That's just automatically disqualified. Female, no.
She can't win. I'll say this.
Well, I'm happy to hear
and
that.
the feminists get really mad.
Yeah.
But I don't believe I believe it is possible for
She is wildly unliked.
I believe it is possible for a woman to win if she's older, but it's going to be very, very difficult. However, especially for a young woman, people 100% psychologically associate height, muscles, deep voice with leadership capabilities and qualities for obvious reasons.
Literally, if someone attacks him on the street, you want the president to be able to fight the guy off.
But these desires and these traits are literally rooted in caveman brain.
Yeah.
When humans were living in the wild, and the big strong guy was like, "Listen to me, and I'll keep you safe," we'd be like, "Okay, you're big. You can fight off the bear." AOC is short, frail, and has a high pitched voice.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it to be mean.
She should be making rice and beans in a kitchen somewhere.
She can make drinks. She can do whatever she wants. But my point is, there's going to be a large percentage of the population, whether they intentionally realize it or not, that they're going to hear her speak and say, absolutely not. That's a reality.
She'll do better than Kamala, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
I think she'll do better than Kamala.
Skill and capability can absolutely overcome biases.
I think
I don't think she's got it.
She could. The only way I think she would win is if people were so afraid, kind of like what happened in Canada with the Mark Carney thing. People were so terrified that Trump actually wanted to take over Canada that they voted for the communist, not that he's a communist, but they voted for the Chinese, let's say the sympathizer to the ways of the West, so that if the America does attack, Carney's going with China. They're going to ally. So if that happened in the United States, people were so afraid of Trump, you could see maybe
Nope.
Who do you think the Democrat
reactionary
front runner will be then, Tim, in your opinion? Who do you think will be? Because they're in shambles. They're trying to find somebody now.
AOC.
You think it will be okay?
I mean, she's the only high-profile Democrat right now.
I think so too.
The problem is,
It has somewhat of an audience.
we had this conversation a couple weeks ago. If you look at a liberal YouTuber, Trump is 80% of their thumbnails. If you look at
100%, dude.
But if you look at Timcast IRL, Trump is 80% of our thumbnails. Why? In politics right now, Trump owns the space. However, it didn't used to be this way. There used to be various Democrats that were in the limelight. Pelosi and Schumer they're getting no attention anymore. They're out of the limelight. Hillary did especially. Obama especially. Jeffries has no X factor and no Q factor, which is X factor meaning no charisma and Q, no notability, no celebrity.
Yep.
They're on the Republican side. Donald Trump takes the cake clean. However, Elon Musk is there. And then you also sometimes might have like Rubio pops up sometimes, not too much. Yeah. RFK Jr. pops up. Matt Gaetz might pop up, though he's out of Congress now.
Yep.
He's doing his show. There were other players with celebrity factor. The Democrats have just AOC, and it is a limited celebrity factor. It's not even that pronounced. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.